Hi, this is Mr. Taylor, and I'm here to help explain a little bit about how to fill out this theme graphic organizer for our essay. So you'll see we've got a box for each one of our body paragraphs. Now overall, our essay will be about the development of theme throughout the novel, but each body paragraph will focus on how that theme develops through a certain literary element. So, for example, for setting, there will be a body paragraph. How the theme develops through characters will have its own body paragraph, and then also how the theme develops through the plot will have its own body paragraph. There's a space under each larger box for a specific quote, and I want 2 quotes at least for each of your body paragraphs, so this will help you organize those. Hopefully you've already got some great things picked out with your golden lines. Here are some of mine for the book Divergent. Now these might look a little bit different than yours because I made mine much larger, so they'll show up well in the video. So for example, here's a quote that I picked out. This is from pretty early on in the book. This is when Beatrice at this time is still at the choosing ceremony, and she's not yet made the decision, but she's determined that she's going to support her parents. So she says here, "I will set my jaw. I will be the child that stays. I have to do this for my parents. I have to." This one here is a quote from when Tris is going through the initiation in Dauntless, and this is when Eric puts her name up for the knife challenge. And she says, "It doesn't prove anything except that you're bullying us, which, as I recall, is a sign of cowardice." Here's another quote that I have picked out. This one is from a little bit later on in the book. It says, this is actually Al talking to Tris. "I think it's important to protect people." Now notice I cut some things out of the middle of this quote. So I put that ... I put the ellipsis, and I put it in square brackets. That's going to let you know that I took something out of the quote. Notice there's another ellipsis down here. This one was actually in the original text. That's why you can tell that it's not in brackets. He says, "I think it's important to protect people. That's what courage is, not hurting people for no reason." And then this final quote that I have picked out, this is from much earlier in the book, and this is when Tris is looking around the cafeteria at all of the people about to make their about to take their aptitude test for the first time, and this says, "I doubt all the erudite want to study all the time, or that every candor enjoys a lively debate, but they can't defy the norms of their factions any more than I can." Now, I would set out all of my quotes. I'd probably want to read through them one more time just to remember what I have. And then I would start going through and looking for the best quote for each one. So for the setting, I need to figure out how the theme, and maybe the theme that I'm going to write about is that you should not let outside forces determine the kind of person that you're going to be. So I would want to find some clues from the setting that start to point towards that theme, that message about life. And I think my best option out of the ones that I have was actually this early one that I went back and got from page 9 about doubting all the erudite want to study all the time, and so on and so forth, about all the factions, because she knows that she's trapped in her faction. So I can explain part of the setting is the faction system, and part of her becoming her own person and choosing her identity is not sticking to what the faction tells her she has to be. So I could write that one in my first box for the setting. Now when I'm choosing one for characters, I would take a look, let's see, probably at this one here that Al said, because Al does a great job of showing us what it looks like at first not to conform, and then to feel that pressure of not being who he truly is. And we see a tragic result in his life once he loses his identity, and then he makes a really poor decision. Here's Al's quote: "I think it's important to protect people. That's what courage is." Well, of course, that's great. That's what Dauntless was all about. And Al realizes that, but the reason he doesn't feel like he fits into Dauntless is because now they have this new idea where they, through the initiation, he says they're hurting people for no reason with the fights that they put him through and the training that they put him through. So I could use him as a great example of finding your own identity and not letting others pressure you into being something in particular, because he is actually kind of the opposite example of how that can turn out poorly when he does conform and he knows he shouldn't. And then for plot or for conflict, either one will fit in this one. And I'm going to use this one. From pretty early on, back at the choosing ceremony, when Trish said that she has to do this for her parents. She has to. She was going to stay with them. This really resounds with her internal conflict, her largest internal conflict through the whole story, because she doesn't want to let her parents down. She doesn't want to completely get away from who she started her life as in abnegation, even though she doesn't feel like she's a true abnegation. But at the same time, she does want to still find out who she is apart from what her parents had and planned for her. So this is a great job. This one does a great job of showing her internal conflict and her decision that shows she's got to be who she truly is, because even though she feels the pressure to stay with her parents, she ultimately makes the decision, and probably the right decision, to depart from them in order to find out her true identity. So, of course, you'll want to find a few more, but that should be a pretty good idea of what to look for in each one of these categories. So, good luck with this stage of your pre-writing process.